20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
Ring the bell, dude. Press the button. Ring the bell. Slam the gavel. Do something, Hesla. Do something. All right, that bell was ringing. 4 o'clock. Monday, markets closed. Take a look across the board. Some good numbers. Well, let's get to them. Dow Jones Industrial up 320 or so. Backs off that 348 a little bit. S&P up 40. NASDAQ right at 100 higher. Right at 100 higher on the close. Very interesting. Oil market kind of quiet. Nothing really going. But here's the big one. Take a look at gold. Gold's up $64, right? It was up $125 an ounce today, this morning, approaching $5,100 an ounce. Remember, we started the year at around $2,700. We're almost 100% higher a year ago. Not this year, but a year ago. So we're talking almost 100% increase. And silver, we're not showing it right there. Silver's $108 right now, 113 high on the day. A couple years ago, that was $5-6 an ounce. Now it's 130. Precious metals are on fire, folks. And the crypto market dead in the water. Can't figure out how to get out of its own way. Cannot figure this out. Ethereum needs to get over 3,000. Bitcoin needs to get over 94,000 is a good level to stay strong for Bitcoin. All right, folks, everyone knows the next medical crisis just around the corner, always is. Whether it comes in the form of a crippling winter storm like we're seeing now in parts of the country, or a pandemic, or something much, much more mundane like a tick bite. You and your family need to be prepared. That's where the Wellness Company comes in. You know the Wellness Company. We have their great doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Drew on this network all the time. The Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust, and their line of prescription medical kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy, whether it's the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, or the travel kit. Those prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of these medications. Rest assured knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help keep you and your family safe. Go to www.twc.health/voice today and order. That's twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE to save 10%. The next medical emergency isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. A storm, a pandemic, a tick bite. Be ready. Trusted physicians, real medicine, peace of mind. Prepare now. Don't wait. All right, our first guest says the American elites and foreign powers working together maybe are using immigration as a political weapon. He believes the thousands of illegal immigrants with criminal records didn't just come here by accident. They were sent here as a weapon to change the demographics of our country. Happy to have the author of The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. The great Peter Schweitzer is with us. Peter, first of all, really congratulations on the new book. Just dropped. Great to have you. Great to have you on the Bowling Show. Great to have you on Rev as well. Peter, talk to us about, we're seeing the unrest in Minneapolis for one. We see Somalis stealing $9 billion. All these things. Now, in your book, or you indicate that this wasn't likely a coincidence, right? Tell us how this may play out.
Yeah, we've been having an important national conversation, Eric, about immigration as it relates to, job, crime, culture. And that's an important debate to have. And sealing the border was a necessary first step. But there's something more important, I think, going on, and that is the weaponization of immigration. And that is these foreign actors, that includes the government of Mexico, China, the Muslim Brotherhood, groups that do not like the United States, do not like American civilization, have weaponized immigration. And so what do I mean by that? Well, in the case of Mexico, I've got numerous examples of this in the book. They talk about how mass migration from Latin America is a means by which the Mexican government is retaking or reclaiming territories that they lost to us in the 19th century. This is not speculation. This is what they actually say. And they've set up an infrastructure inside the United States to carry that out, using their 53 consulates to not only encourage and support support these anti-ICE protests and other violent protests in the United States. But we've also got Mexican diplomats that are meddling in our elections, trying to prevent Republicans who want to close the border from being elected, trying to help Democrats. And then China and the other actors have their methodologies as well. So we need to start viewing immigration the way that our adversaries view it, as a political weapon that has very real consequence that's being played out right now in the streets of Minneapolis.
You know, Pete, you and I have studied this stuff long enough to know that the first way to kind of move on any sort of country or leadership is to create, I guess, discord or disruption within the body, the political body, the people, the citizens. Is that what you're saying, that these countries, I would even add Russia into that mix. You say the Muslim Brotherhood, maybe Iran, maybe through them and others. All these countries want to see us unstable, so to speak, so that they can maybe move the people that they like in. Is this how it plays out?
Yeah, it plays out in that respect, but it also just plays out in the sheer numbers. Let me just read you real quick, Eric, a couple of quotes from senior Mexican officials. This is what they say about mass migration. The first quote is from a top aide to President Sheinbaum. This is a government report written in December of 2024. Quote, "We already know that the Mexican population in the United States reaches 39.9 million. We Mexicans are reclaiming our territory." Or this quote from a powerful Mexican senator, member of the Morena party, the ruling party. He sits on the National Defense Committee, which is the most powerful committee in the Mexican Senate. Quote, "Mexicans are in our territories: California, Nevada, Texas, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Wyoming. We're going to take back the territory that was stolen from us," end quote. Now, certainly, there are Mexicans in the United States who don't subscribe to this, don't want any part of this. They are embracing the American dream. They are assimilating, but that's not what the Mexican government wants, and they fight to resist it. So you've got senior Mexican officials that I quote in the book saying that Mexicans that come here and Americanize are traitors to Mexico. And this official says President Sheinbaum agrees with him. So they don't want assimilation. They want mass migration of individuals that don't embrace American values, because their goal is to transform, as they say, American civilization to resemble something more like them and less like you traditionally think of the United States.
Peter, they don't want these folks to come across to assimilate, and I think it's playing out in a couple of places, specifically right now in the news. We're watching Minneapolis. Somalis come over. They don't assimilate to the way we do things here. They do the way they do things in the failed country that is Somalia. They have no government there. They have no law and order there. And then you look at Mamdani, who wins in New York, where he says, "Come, we'll take care of you. We'll give you free stuff." My concern is, Peter, and tell me if this is a valid concern or not, the Muslim group, the people that are coming across, specifically the Muslim groups, look what they tried to do. They tried to create a city within the state of Texas. Texas said no. Abbott said no. Now they're trying it right here in the state of Florida as we speak. People are pushing back on it. But is this what you're talking about? They want to come here, infiltrate, create their own little maybe no-go zones, so to speak, and then spread their way of life throughout our country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly part of the play. And it's important to understand that, again, within the Islamic community, do you have people who are embracing the American dream, American values? You are. But it's not because of these activist groups. It's not because of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's despite them. It's in spite of them. Again, sorry to burden you with the quotes, but I think it's important because this is not Eric, you or I speculating about this. This is what they say. This is a quote from the director of CARE, the large activist Islamist group, the Florida Director of CARE in 2025 in a speech. I mean, why are we living here, meaning in the United States? Have we asked ourselves this question? Why are we living in the United States? The only answer I believe is excusable and justifiable is if we are living here to shift this country's political direction and spiritual direction together. Or a board member of CARE the same year saying, ultimately, we can never be full citizens of this country, because there's no way we can fully be committed to the institutions of this country. We can only be citizens in the sense that we try to influence American policy. So there is an active effort to weaponize immigration. And so sealing the border is absolutely important. What we have to do is deal with these foreign political and sometimes violent networks that are trying to sow discord in the United States. Several of the most active groups, for example, that are involved in these anti-ICE protests in Minnesota are working with the Mexican consulate in St. Paul, which is part of the Twin Cities. One group is called Clues. It actually shares the same office as the Mexican consulate. The other one is called MIRAC, has done a whole host of events with diplomatic officials. And we've seen this elsewhere, where Mexican consular officials are involved in organizing and encouraging these violent protests. So we need to wake up and see what's going on.
And then we kind of asked for this, Pete, don't we? I mean, you elect Zoran Mamdani, an admitted socialist, as the mayor of the largest populated city in America. And then, you have Ilhan Omar, who represents a district in Minnesota, who's stated that her real affinity, her real concern is for the people of Somalia, not the American citizens that she represents in Minnesota. It's kind of our fault, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And they're very cognizant, by the way, of their ability to win elections, because what the Muslim Brotherhood regards as the relative apathy of the American people. Their calculation is, they made this calculation in New York with Mamdani before he even got the Democratic nomination. There are videos of Islamic leaders talking about this, talking about Mamdani, and I quote them in the book, where they say, look, if we can get 10 to 11% of a population in a given area, we can win elections, because so many average Americans don't really vote. They certainly don't vote in primaries, and they don't vote that much in general elections that often. So they believe that with apathy and with organization and reaching critical mass in certain communities, they are able to shift the political course. That also includes financial donations, and it includes an international component, Eric. Mamdani's a great illustration of that. A newspaper in Lebanon run by Hezbollah, the terrorist organization, had articles coming out months before he was the mayor saying, this is a guy with a political future in America. He could go from mayor, he could join a future Democratic administration. He might even become the secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, I ask you, why would a terrorist organization want an individual to be the head of the Department of Homeland Security? I think we can guess on what that answer is. So these quote-unquote local elections in Minnesota or New York, they have global implications, because these global networks are activating to try to help these people win. They're doing it with money, and they're doing it with moral support.
And very quickly, Pete, about a minute or so, China. We haven't talked China, and that's the scary part, because they're quietly being subversive and also maybe doing the same things. Tell us.
Yeah, China is very sophisticated about this. Birthright citizenship, the Supreme Court's going to hear the case. We have no idea in the United States how many people become U.S. citizens just because their parents happen to fly here as a birth tourist, give birth, and then the child goes home with the parents. They're raised in a foreign country. We have no idea how many. China believes, the Chinese government believes, that right now in the United States, there are more than 1 million Chinese kids that have U.S. citizenship because their parents did this. When they turn 18, even though they've been raised in China, they're children of the CCP elite, they're going to be able to vote in elections. They're going to be able to donate to campaigns, 1 million of them. And let's remember, the 2016 election was settled by what? 70 to 80,000 votes. So that is a coming threat that nobody is really paying attention to and should.
Wow. That's that, and you're right. The country's so divided. We're divided along party lines. You take one new group and they find a home on one side, you're going to sway just about every close election in the country. Peter Schweitzer, folks, you get Pete on, you learn something every single time. Thank you, Peter, the author of The Invisible Coup. Thank you, sir.
Great to be with you, my old friend. Thanks for having me.
We will get you back ASAP. If you're ever in South Florida, we'd love to get you in studio. Pete, thank you.
Okay.
All right, folks, let me ask you something. When was the last time you heard a real conversation on television? Not a shouting match, not a monologue disguised as some sort of interview, an actual conversation. Well, that's why I started The Edge. I didn't want another podcast factory. I didn't want clips designed to make you so ticked off while you're scrolling on your phone. I wanted a place where truth was discussed and discovered. I wanted honesty. I wanted people to actually finish a thought. We're sitting just a couple hundred subscribers under 10,000 subscribers, that milestone on The Edge right now. That number means a lot because nobody was bought, bribed, tricked, or herded in. There are no scripts for guests. We don't talk talking points. We don't even allow talking points. There's zero pressure to be viral. Just people who've lived interesting lives talking about things that they don't usually get asked. If you're tired of the noise, if you're still enjoying listening to intelligent discourse, and if you miss conversations that feel real, go there. Take your phone, aim at that QR code. You can subscribe that way with your phone. Just hit the yellow line on your camera when the yellow line comes up when you aim it at that QR code. Or just go to YouTube and type in the search box, Eric Bolling and Edge. If you have both of those in there, we're going to come up. You're going to be part of this thing. Let's crack 10,000. Let's do it this week, maybe today. How's that? We're building something different. We want you part of that first 10,000. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here.
I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300. But
$2,300.
What was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
I guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-491-4896.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford.
Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
All right, our first guest running for Congress, representing Arizona's 5th congressional district, because he says we need good patriots in office that will stand up and fight for American values. Happy to have retired Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb with us. Sheriff, thank you for joining us. Just want to work through this a little bit. Last week, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays warned that ICE agents may clash with Arizonans on the stand your ground laws. She's essentially inciting violence among citizens against ICE agents. You posted on X that she must retract her statement. Let's take a listen. Do we have the statement, guys? Do we have this? Trish, can we play this? Let's play a soundbite. Let's do it.
Despite how right-wing media has characterized recent comments that I made about ICE and the danger its actions pose to public safety, the idea that I would want the life of any member of law enforcement put in danger is wrong, it's offensive, and it is an outright lie. Danger to law enforcement is the very thing I want to avoid in Arizona.
So here's what she does. She puts out this statement saying push back against ICE, which, by the way, is very, very dangerous given what's going on in Minneapolis right now. And then she says, the idea that I would suggest that I want law enforcement in harm's way is ridiculous. Which one is it, Sheriff? What do you think?
Well, that is her second statement, Eric. The original statement she did on a news piece here in Arizona where the newscaster even says, hey, like, are you sure you know what you're saying right now? Look, we all support the Stand Your Ground law. We support 2A here in Arizona. It's one of the best states if you love guns. But she, in a cute way, was trying to rope this into while she was talking about ICE, like if they show up with a mask and they don't have a uniform on, if you defend yourself, then, you'd be within your rights. So she's playing a cute game right now. Then she issues the statement that you just played, where that's basically all she retracts or talks about. And really, this is not just a feeling I had. All of the sheriffs and other law enforcement people were feeling the exact same way. She got called out on many levels, but she doubled down. But then in that video, she goes on to blame President Trump and ICE for what is happening in Minnesota, when in reality, they're doing their job. Who's to blame are the politicians in Minnesota who don't tell people to stay home and stop obstructing law enforcement and continue to encourage behavior, which has resulted tragically in the death of 2 people. And as one of your guests was talking about, this is very intentional. These are Marxist, Leninist groups, socialist groups that want chaos on the streets of America, and they're using these people as pawns. And tragically, 2 of them have died in an effort to create chaos in the streets of America.
Sheriff, I asked this question last week, and I still don't know the answer to this. So we know that Walz in Minnesota and Fry in Minneapolis have basically instructed the police force and the Minnesota National Guard to stand down, don't assist ICE when they're being attacked by rioters. Is there no sort of, in medicine, and doctors have a Hippocratic oath to take care of someone? Even if they don't have insurance, you see someone dying, you got to take care of them. That's their oath. Is there no law enforcement similar oath that says, hey, I see a fellow law enforcement officer, whether he's part of our group or not, our jurisdiction or not, to help another law enforcement officer? Why are they not lending a hand in Minneapolis?
It's above and beyond the law enforcement. Surely, just as American citizens who are asking for help, the police should be there for them. We're doing removals, ICE removals in the county where I was the sheriff. We're all doing it all the time. We've been doing it for years. And guess what? We don't have issues like this because we work hand in hand with ICE and our federal partners. This would be going a lot different if the local law enforcement was actually standing up to this governor and this mayor and saying, no, we're going to help because this is their job and they're within their congressionally and Senate appropriated right to do this. And so the real tragedy here is the so-called leadership in Minnesota who have failed the American people, and they continue to incite this. And why wouldn't they? You know why they're doing it? Because they were on the hook for $9 billion plus of fraud that they were starting to be called to the carpet on. And all of a sudden now they welcome this chaos because nobody now is talking about this tremendous fraud that was going on in Minnesota. So I think there's a couple of reasons why they are encouraging this type of behavior on the streets.
Should Trump remove some ICE officers? I mean, Tom Homan's going to Minneapolis now. Well, let me ask you this. Will that help, or will that make things more, I guess, more chippy, so to speak?
Well, I think Tom Homan is great, and I think that they are already, they've gotten on the phone with, my understanding is with Tim Walz and told him, hey, Tom Homan's coming in. Tom Homan is an actual agent. A lot of times leadership in these organizations, they weren't actually put on a badge. They didn't actually have a gun. And so sometimes they don't really know what's going on the street. I'm a big fan of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Sometimes certain battles it's okay to walk away from and you take a different approach. I think really what Americans want to see is the fraud come to an end. We want to see people removed from this country or here illegally. We're seeing the byproduct of the damage that type of illegal immigration is doing to our country with what's going on in Minnesota and so many other cities. But I think it would give them the ability to shift focus back to where the fraud was happening and give the Americans people some conclusion to that fraud and put some people in handcuffs for victimizing the American people and the people of Minnesota. So I'm okay. There's plenty of other places we're going to be able to pull illegals out of, and they can do it in a different way there in Minnesota. But I trust that Tom Homan's going to put a good plan together, and President Trump is going to continue to move forward, because that's what the American people want. Poll after poll, even now, still show overwhelming support from the American people for removing people that are in this country illegally. I will tell you something. If you look at the difference between when Trump sent ICE and law enforcement to Louisiana, and you have Jeff Landry, you have a governor who is very much pro law enforcement, and things were calm. They cleaned things up, they did their job, and they got out. The opposite happens when he sends them to Minnesota with Tim Walz, who's a complete lunatic progressive liberal. Question is it state by state? Is it the governor of every single state is going to dictate whether there's people dying from fighting back and running over ICE agents, or a peaceful transition of removing illegals and calming things down? Is it really that simple? Is it's down to one person in each state? And by the way, where's Arizona in that? Look, I don't think it's down to one person. I think that these socialist, Marxist groups, please don't be naive enough to think that this is not an organized effort to create chaos. But it is easier to do in Minnesota or in New York or in Chicago than it is in Arizona. While our Attorney General has said some concerning things and has not been very pro-President Trump or ICE, we also have very good relationships with our local law enforcement and federal partners, not just in the county where I was the sheriff, but throughout the state, because we recognize how important it is to work with our federal partners. So I think that these groups, these Marxist socialist groups, are targeting areas where they also have a high propensity to have people that are easily beguiled into coming out and doing what you're seeing here on this video, obstructing our federal law enforcement as they attempt to do the job that Congress and Senate said, hey, this is the law, we want you to go enforce it. If these people are angry, they shouldn't be obstructing law enforcement. They should be in front of the offices of Congress and Senate to complain there, or they should petition, as the Constitution says, a written petition to redress your grievances. This is neither peaceable or constitutional in my book. There you go. There you go. Sheriff Mark Lamb, we wish you well. You get you back a bunch of times running for Congress, representing Arizona's 5th congressional district. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Eric. We'll be back 2.5 minutes, folks.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover. Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elk with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it.
I hear the Somali waltz. I hear the Somali waltz in the background. There are facts, and then there's an interpretation of facts. Fact, more than half of America voted for the deportation of illegals. Fact, deporting illegal criminals from America, including those who are here in the country illegally, is lawful, constitutional, and right. Fact, if you don't stand in the way of operations to deport those illegals from this country, you'll stay safe. And the fact is, Democrats don't care about facts. They definitely don't care about those facts specifically. In fact, they lie about those first two facts in order to get their paid army of protesters and insurrectionists to bravely interfere with ICE operations with the hope that there will be injuries, or even better for them, deaths. Because dying protesters are a hot commodity to the party of violence. As we know, Barack Obama was known as the deporter-in-chief.
The truth is that the Obama administration has deported 2.5 million undocumented immigrants from the United States over 2 terms. 2.5 million. That's the highest number for any president ever. In fact, Obama is on course to have deported more people in his 8 years in office than all of the presidents of the 20th century combined.
And Obama, the presidential candidate, even attacked the Bush administration for not doing enough.
This administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away.
I love about that soundbite the best. Hill Shady standing there like, oh man, I'm going to lose to this guy. And surprisingly, Obama understood that deportation sometimes gets ugly.
You know, I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the Emperor of the United States. My job is to execute laws that are passed. And Congress right now has not changed what I consider to be a broken immigration system. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that we have certain obligations to enforce the laws that are in place, even if we think that in many cases the results may be tragic. There are going to be some stories that break our hearts.
Stories that are tragic and break our hearts. And Obama did it all just like he said he would. Right, lefties, deporting criminals only, never separating families? Sure he did.
We should do it smartly and go after folks who are criminals, gangbangers, people who are hurting the community, not after students, not after folks who are here just because they're trying to figure out how to feed their families. And that's what we've done.
But that's not what the New York Times has found. It reports 2/3 of those deported under President Obama had committed minor infractions, such as traffic violations, or had no criminal record at all. More than 5,000 children whose parents were removed from the country have ended up in foster care. Each day, reform is delayed, and estimated 1,100 more people are deported.
Now, that's interesting. It's worth serving up those as a reminder because rather conveniently, Obama put out a statement about what's happening in Minneapolis. And it should be of no surprise to anyone that Obama also lived up to his other well-known title, divider-in-chief, when he not only blames President Trump for the fact that Antifa's insurrection has led to tragic deaths, but he also calls for protests to continue. Because that Obama right there is who Barack Obama truly is, the Soros-bought, America-hating globalist who despises this country and enjoys contributing to its slow, methodical demise. The division in America is, of course, in large part thanks to Barack Obama himself. It's Barack Obama's style of leadership that gave birth to the likes of Tim Walz and his communist-loving, violence-inciting corruptionist and deceitful ways.
What is the plan? What do we need to do to get these federal agents out of our state? You thought fear, violence, and chaos is what you wanted from us, and you clearly underestimated the people of this state and nation. We are tired, but we're resolved. We're peaceful, but we'll never forget. We're angry, but we won't give up hope. And above all else, we are clearly unified.
Peaceful protest. Really? Is there lower government filth than that guy right there? I thought it was Gavin Newsom, but Waltz takes the cake. This guy has been openly encouraging his brown shirts to attack federal agents. Those same brown shirts have seized control of a portion of his state as a, quote, autonomous zone. Megan Good died while trying to murder an ICE agent, try to run him over. Preddy died while vigorously committing a felony while armed, attacking ICE officers in violation of the Constitution. Both tragic and unnecessary deaths egged on by bloodthirsty politicians. Tim Walz and his comrades have actively encouraged, aided, and abetted an armed insurrection against the rest of this country. There's nothing peaceful about the crimes Walz personally created in order to distract America from his own fraud. And now we find out, due to some incredible citizen journalism, these are coordinated attacks on ICE agents. They've exposed signal chats, exposing government officials, journalists, anarchists, and Antifa, all coordinating attacks against ICE agents. There's a training manual on how to chase these agents down. This is massive, and it's coordinated up to the very top levels of government. This is organized crime in the purest form. The violence against ICE as these agents carry out their lawful duties is tightly coordinated. It's coordinated via sophisticated encrypted messaging apps. They're unlawfully using private driver and taxpayer information pulled from government records to attack and intimidate ICE agents and their families in their homes and on their phones. Time for ICE to pause in Minneapolis, says the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Really? Why should the federal government bend the knee to these violent insurrectionists? Wall Street Journal editorial board. Did the Biden administration stop letting in invaders by the millions when Americans begged them to stop? When women were being raped and killed by criminal invaders? Did they put a pause on allowing the full-scale invasion of this country for 4 long years? Radical leftists do not get to decide who gets to stay in this country after illegally entering. They think they do. They're convinced they do by the likes of Tim Walz, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and they're willing to use violence to make sure that third world criminals get to stay. Those radical left so-called activists are violently impeding any law enforcement entity of our legitimately elected federal government. They should be arrested and removed from the streets. Screaming, violent radicals have tried this throughout history. And when they finally get into power, like in the Soviet Union, in China, in Venezuela, in Iran, they can then practice their own forms of control and violent suppression. That's how it works. You disrupt, you get into power, and then you control. There can be and should be zero tolerance for obstructing law enforcement. None whatsoever, which, despite what Comrade Walz says, is exactly what it is.
And quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement.
But they actually are law enforcement, buddy. They're enforcing the law. You just don't like the law, but you already know that they are all about the law. In fact, if you keep out of the way of federal operations to carry out legal operations, you'll stay safe. It's not up to the left to decide to keep illegal criminals in this country. So get out of their way. Get out of the ICE agents' way, because this is happening whether you like it or not. Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, and the rest of your lunatic nutjobs on the left. 2.5 minutes. We'll be right back.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
It was a cover-up. Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elk with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it.
I'm happy now. It works. I haven't seen my waist as thin as this since probably before when I went through menopause. My whole body changed and went crazy, and I haven't been able to feel great. I used to feel sluggish all the time. I would be like, oh, I just want to take a nap. I want to go to sleep. Now I'm always energized. Like the inches just disappeared and the clothes is falling off and I'm losing the weight and I feel fabulous. But no, I feel great. Thank you for this program. It's an amazing program and it's for life now. I live up to the title.
See, these are great testimonials. Folks tell you exactly what's going on. Menopause is often described as a season of weight gain, fatigue, and frustration, and many women find it difficult to lose weight. Here to explain what's really happening to the body, founder of Energized Health, John Jubilee. John, so why do so many women find it almost impossible to lose weight during and after menopause?
Yeah, so Eric, I was part of a medical study. I had 130 patients assigned to me, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. And it's just a fascinating phenomenon just of the human body. But, your metabolism completely changes, your sleep cycle completely changes. And so most people think there's the only solution they can even try to just get a little relief is the medical side. They try hormone replacement therapy and, all of these pills and all of this. And really, none of those things work. Every one of those things is a Band-Aid. But I'm happy to tell you, in the medical study I was a part of, I had 130 patients assigned to me. I had 130 women that said they lost all their fat, they got back to their college age weight, they got their sex drive back, they got their sleep cycle back, they got all that back. And hey, I don't want to leave the men out of this. Men, this is torture for men. When your wife is going through menopause, it's like you're looking at this woman like, who is this woman and what happened to my wife? So it's brutal for a couple, to experience this together. And Eric, we were talking before we came on. Listen, men have a version of this too, guys. Our testosterone drops. So for the hormone for a man, when your testosterone's dropping, that's what happens to you. You can't gain muscle anymore. Your metabolism's not working like it used to anymore. Your sex drive isn't working like it used to anymore. So, if I had a statement, and I guess if we're going to call it menopause for women, we'd have to call it womenopause for men, when men start losing their testosterone. But both of these are totally reversible. When you're healthy at the cellular level, Eric, we just had a man Tuesday night on our call. His testosterone is up 200 points. This guy's in his late 60s, I think 67 years old. His testosterone went up 200 points just on the 88-day protocol, all natural, no TRT. So we can get these hormone issues under control whether we're a man or a woman.
Interesting, fascinating. And this is all through what you're doing with Energized Health without any, as you point out, no testosterone, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, which is generally an injectable. But so you can do this without any injectables.
100%. So again, for the women, you're going to get your healthy progesterone, your healthy estrogen. You're healthy. You have an amount of testosterone you're supposed to have. For men, your testosterone. By the way, we had another guy. His went up 500. But 200 to 500 increase when you have intracellular hydration. That's kind of a normal thing we've seen with men that are over 50 years old. And again, both of these gentlemen I'm mentioning, the 200 and the 500, they were in their 60s and their testosterone went up 200 and 500 points respectively. So you're made to have healthy testosterone. You're made to have a healthy sex life, your whole life, healthy energy, have a good metabolism. But you got to take an action step, guys. It doesn't just happen by wanting it to happen, So I'm just going to encourage people today, Eric, to just make a phone call, guys. Go on the website and book a call. Get on a free call with somebody, and whether it's a woman or a man, you can ask them what's your miracle story at Energized Health, because everyone at Energized Health was a client first. Some 20, 30-year nurses, they left the medical field when they realized how this transforms lives and health and can balance hormones, all natural, with no injections at all.
There you go. John Jubilee, always good to have you, my friend. Energized Health CEO, founder, and all things Energized Health. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, folks, the president sending border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis, and the left and the media they own are clearly freaking out.
Trump just issued a social media post where he said he's sending Tom Homan, who works, obviously, on immigration and the crackdown, directly to Minneapolis now, and that Tom Homan is going to report directly to him, the President of the United States.
Say it slower, dude. It'll become less scary for you. Tom Homan is a guy. What's going to happen? We'll see. That will likely send an even bigger army of violent protesters out to the streets in Minneapolis, but this is where the violence starts. The violence begins with the things that people like Tim Walz say, comparing ICE agents to Gestapo, comparing illegal aliens to Holocaust victims, and then they wonder why protesters are out in streets and biting off federal fingers of federal agents, ICE agents.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota. And there's one person who can end this now.
You mean the 6 million Jews that died in the Holocaust? You can compare Minneapolis. This guy, wait till the next segment. We're going to break down exactly what Tim Walz is up to. This moment right here pretty much defines the left's way of thinking. It doesn't matter if the protesters are violating federal law. It doesn't matter if they're justifiably shot for attacking federal officers or shot because they're trying to run one over. Because what does matter more than justice is clearly the leftist agenda.
And I think the greater issue is, even if there is an investigation that ultimately proves that at the time of the shooting it was legally justified, I don't think that even matters at this point, because there is so much outrage and concern around what is happening in the city.
Okay. Nicole Wallace has always been a beacon of leftist idiocy, even though she worked for George Bush. She was George Bush's press secretary, Republican, now left-wing lunatic on MSNBC, and one of the prime faces of full-blown Trump derangement syndrome. Remember, no one seemed to work harder than Nicole Wallace to cover up for Joe Biden's obvious fall into dementia. Well, she's added, once again, this time the paid-for Minneapolis insurrectionists out to be like made them out to be some sort of second coming of Jesus to Nicole.
In the city of Minneapolis, an act of historic bravery Take a look at this. These are images of an American city rising up in protest against Donald Trump and the brutality and cruelty of his administration. Thousands of people are braving a wind chill of minus 20 degrees. It's part of a coordinated day of peaceful action.
Braving the wind chill. Stay inside. Stay out of the way. Don't put yourself in harm's way, you idiots. NBC's Kristen Welker is also more than happy to peddle leftist propaganda, one of which is that the lie being told repeatedly about a 5-year-old being detained, the mainstream media is hell-bent on making matters worse by telling these lies to the public, but they don't care.
Agents in Minnesota this week. I want you to look at these pictures, Mr. Blanche. A protester on the ground being pepper sprayed, a 5-year-old being detained, a U.S. citizen being pulled out of his home half naked, later released upon determination that he was wrongfully detained. Are federal agents acting humanely, Mr. Blanche?
Yes. Our agents are acting humanely. Their jobs are very, very difficult. It is a very difficult place to be, going out and trying to arrest these violent felons with no support from local law enforcement, with no support from the governor. Remember, there's a much easier way to do this. When these violent criminals who are here illegally are ready to get out of prison, the mayor could just let us know. We could go get them from prison and deport them. They refuse to do that.
Just work with law enforcement. Just work with federal law enforcement. It's that easy. One more. The left's newest Jussie Smollett took the press through the supposed facts of how she was detained by ICE in Minneapolis. This particular part of her account has certainly made the rounds because it almost feels like it can't even be real. But again, it's a leftist. It is.
So I'm Somali. I'm proud to be Somali. To me, being Somali isn't just eating bananas with rice. It's a lot. It's like it's an interesting thing. It's very hard to describe what it means to be Somali and what it means to be American, but it's like a cultural fusion. It's kind of like the bananas and rice. You know, people don't really see, like, you know, it's you know, people don't think, oh, you can eat bananas with rice, but that's what it's like to be Somali and American. It's like that combination of banana and rice, but you're gonna get what I mean.
We are not Somalians. We are not just about bananas and rice. But, you know, come to think of it, we're just bananas and rice. Brilliant people, these Somalians. We'll be back 2.5 minutes.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
It was the cover-up. Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it.
All right, folks, honesty right here, right now. Yes, this is a promo. Yes, I want you to subscribe to The Edge, but here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to be yelling at you. I'm not going to be going to promise you it'll change your life overnight. It may over time. And I'm definitely not going to slam that like button or say, just hit it for likes. I don't want to do that. The Edge is for people who still like long-form conversations, the kind where someone actually listens and answers. We're at 9,800 subscribers as of right now, which tells me there are still a whole massive group of you out there who don't need everything turned into a food fight. No circus, no gimmicks, no 5-second attention span debates, just smart, unscripted conversations with people who've been through some tough times and lived to tell us what they learned on their way to success. Teach us something. If that sounds like you, great. If not, all good, no problem. But if it does, search The Edge with Eric Bolling on YouTube. You can hit your phone right there, use your camera, do that, or just subscribe like this. You go to YouTube, in the search box, Eric Bolling and The Edge. Join the fastest growing new YouTube channel around. Be one of the first 10,000 to subscribe. Find out what so many are talking about. Find your edge. Hit subscribe, bust us through 10,000. All right. I need just a minute of your valuable time here. Here's the deal. We're being duped. We're being duped, folks. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are purposefully inciting these protests in Minneapolis for a very important and corrupt reason. They both are riling up the useful idiot base, the citizens, for their own selfish purposes. Both are blaming Trump, ICE, and frankly, MAGA, while it's them inciting the violence, and there's a very nefarious reason they're doing this. So publicly, by the way. Every camera op they both get, they're calling Trump racist, calling MAGA Nazis, and calling ICE the Gestapo because this is a built-in diversion for them. A very, very shiny object, sparkling brightly way over there, far away from the massive problem they both face. Let's not forget, these people just allowed $9 billion in counting of theft and corruption that just got exposed days before these Minneapolis riots started. The billions stolen right from under their noses, a bunch of Somalians. When the law-corruptocrat Democrats, law-hating Democrats, when they let 20 million illegals into this country the last few years, they are now acting surprised or ticked off when their open border policies resulted in crimes against American citizens, when the crimes were exposed and the perps were Somalians in their cities and their state. Frey and Walz needed a distraction. They needed it badly. They were freaking out. They realized they were going to be the subject of law enforcement investigations. The heat was getting too much for their political careers to handle, maybe even their freedom to handle. So Tim Walz and Jacob Frey saw this as an opportunity. Trump sent ICE to Minneapolis to help find evidence against the Somali criminals. Maybe some were illegal. Who knows? Not the most important issue, by the way. But for Walz and Frey, it was their gift from Trump, wrapped up in a big red bow. Frey and Walz set the fire. They created massive unrest among those very liberal populations. Frey, day one, screamed, "Get ICE the F out of Minneapolis." Remember that? Walz was and still is agitating the rioters, comparing the scenes in his streets of Minnesota to the Holocaust and Anne Frank. Never mind that horrific moment in history was the result of 6 million Jews being exterminated by Hitler. These two, Walz and Frey, fearing for their own political careers, maybe even their own freedom going forward, created the huge altercations between law enforcement and the people breaking the laws. These two have built the stadium. They've built the lines in the playing field. They've painted the lines. They've even removed the only referees that made sense, local law enforcement, taken out of the equation at the demand of the mayor and the governor. Local law enforcement should have been there the whole time, ensuring ICE officers' safety. But they were told to steer clear, stand down, don't respond, don't assist. And when the match was struck and dropped on the gunpowder factory of Walz and Frey, it detonated. So while ICE is simply trying to peacefully and legally remove the illegals, they're getting their fingers bitten off or rammed into by cars 6,000, 7,000-pound killing machines. Defending themselves has turned into a Gestapo description by Walls, Fry, and their liberal reporters asking the layup questions. That's exactly what Walls and Fry needed. They sowed division in Minneapolis to save their own asses. They want the country to be divided under law enforcement versus anarchy, and they're getting it. They knew this was going to happen. The reason why Tim Walz and Jacob Fry are the loudest voices in this is because they have the most to gain from it. The more violence, the more death, the more destruction, the less we're talking about the Somalians stealing $9 billion from Minnesota. And yes, you and me, the U.S. taxpayers. Allow me to ask you this final question. Where the hell is the Minneapolis Police Department? Where the hell is the Minnesota National Guard? They're not there because they've been told to stand down, don't protect ICE. In fact, they were out in the bitter cold serving hot coffee and cocoa to the rioters, not to fellow law enforcement agents. Why? Because this is the perfect shiny object for people to look over there while Jacob Fry and Tim Walz are somehow allowed to divert attention away from that $9 billion stolen from Minnesota and you and me, the taxpayers. Please do not get me wrong. It's not good that people have been dying. But guess what? They'll continue to die if we allow Walz and Fry to rile up their citizens. This is not ICE's fault or Trump's fault or MAGA's fault. This is a fault of Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, and every freaking Democrat that supports illegal activities to creep into our society. By the way, by all means, please not let these Somalians off the hook. No one's talking about it. We have to stay on it. All right, folks. Sorry I had to do it. Bowling out.